Hey guys, Russ here with Bishop's West. You know, a couple weeks ago I made a video about how to use the Quantize modulator to get kind of that stepped potentiometer effect. And I knew that there was another way to do it, and I just wasn't quite sure how to pull it off. So Conskift, thank you by the way, left a comment on the video saying how you could do the same thing with the steps modulator. And there was just one key step that I had been missing. So let's dive in and I'll show you how to do it. All right, so here we are in Bitwig Studio, and just to recap, what we're trying to do is achieve something similar to what Arturia has in their tape delay plugin here, where when I turn the knob, it's got specific settings and it's not a smooth transition between each, it's just, you know, a stepped potentiometer. So that's what we're trying to do, okay? So let's get rid of that. And last time we were able to achieve that effect using the Quantize modulator. This time, like I said, we're gonna use the steps modulator to do the same thing. So let's start by throwing a steps modulator in there. And what I want to do is modulate the amount of the blue oscillator that's modulating the red modulator or oscillator. Okay, so we're going to go through that whole range there using the steps modulator. So first thing I need to do, just to stay consistent, last time I used 5 steps, so I'm going to adjust the steps here just by clicking and dragging down to 5 steps, and I need to change the amount for each step. Okay, so there, 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 and there. So now if I click play, you'll see that it's going through each of those steps. And if I press a note, okay, so that's a start. If you haven't seen the steps modulator before, this affects the direction that it runs. So now if I press play, it goes the other way. And if I press that, then it goes back and forth, okay? And finally, the loop. So I pressed play and it went backwards and forwards one time. If I don't have this on and I press play, it just goes it through one time and then it's done. It doesn't loop, okay? So let's leave that off for now. 5 steps. Clear just does what it says. It clears everything. Whoops, went too far. Come back. By the way, I should be explaining as I go. I hit Control Z and that's what happened. It got rid of it completely. So let's redo that a little bit. Take this down to 5. Okay, if I use this random button here, it does what it says. It gives me random buttons. Okay, so I'm going to clear that. Something that's not immediately obvious is if I right click here, then it's got some options for me. So what I'm going to use is the square, and you can see it populates that. The problem is I don't want anything below 0, which is what the center line is. So I'm going to take that and transform and positive shift. So now I've got an equal amount between each step controlling that, okay? So now if I press, well, one more thing, the trigger mode over here, from transport, I'm going to change this to note restart so that every time I press a note, it restarts at the beginning. Okay, that's what that does. Or you can, you know, note random will start just someplace. Note advance each note I play, it advances to the next amount. Okay, I'm going to leave it on note restart. I'm going to change the timing. So this is the rate. You can change it hertz, kilohertz, bar, half note, whatever you want it, however fast you want it to run. But here's what I was missing when I was trying to use this a couple of weeks ago. If I change it to hold rate of 0, it's just going to stay there. Okay, doesn't matter what I do. If I press play on the transport, it just stays in that same position. So what I can do to control that then is use the phase knob over here. So if I turn this, you can see that it gradually advances through each step. Okay. And just real fast to finish explaining everything on this modulator, there's the smooth knob. So if I turn this up to 100% and do the same thing, which is interesting that it takes, if it's at 0, it takes it back all the way to full. I'm not sure why it does that, but that can be, I think I could use that in some ways, but for right now, that's kind of defeating the point of wanting that stepped quantizer or stepped potentiometer effect. So I'm going to leave that down at 0. So now I've got this. I'm going to start by, what was it? Adding the ramp modulator like we did last time with the Quantize. And I'm going to control the phase with that. So that now, every time, and let's make this a little bit slower, every time I hit a note, it's just going to advance through. So it's the same thing as if I was using the note restart and I didn't have the loop on, right? I can turn the loop on here. Okay. And then from there, you know, if I want to, I'll introduce the random modulator. Same thing, have it control the phase here. And then something I need to do is here, if I play it like this, and maybe that's what I want. So I'm holding down a note and it's still changing based on the rate that I have set here. Okay, so I'm going to undo the poly, so it's just going to be playing one value at a time. But the other thing I'm going to do is same thing as I did on the steps modulator. I'm going to change this to hold rate of 0, and down here, I don't know if that matters, but I'm going to change that to note. So now it's just going to stay on whatever it hits until I hit a new note. Right? So there's changing here. It's changing based on every time I hit a new note. If I change it to free, well, then I'm stuck. So I don't want that. And if I set it to sync, that would be okay, but I would have to be playing it or using the play button on the transport. So I'm going to use note. Okay. And so that's really all there is to it. I've got my steps modulator going from 0 to 100% in 5 steps. And I've got this random modulator controlling it, which step, you know, which of these values it's going to be using for each note. Okay, so again, there's not a whole lot to it this time, but just something interesting and, you know, a different way of doing things and achieving the same end result, but maybe with a little bit more control. What I can do with this then is, you know, a lot of stuff. Try that. Try transforming it with a positive shift again. But you know, instead of using the random modulator, maybe use a ramp or maybe use an LFO. Lots of different ways you could approach this. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. Hope it was informative. Hope it sparked your imagination a little bit. If you have any questions or comments, definitely feel free to leave them down below. I'd be curious to know if you use the steps modulator, and if you have any other, you know, tips or tricks that you guys use that you think would be helpful to everybody else. Definitely leave those in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and hope you have a great day.